We are going to be talking to a fantastic employer panel today. Again, as I said before, my name is Bree Weiler-Reynolds, and I am the Senior Career Specialist at FlexJobs. And today we're going to be talking to DVMelite, PwC, and Haynes & Company, three companies who are hiring for jobs with flexibility. This presentation is presented by FlexJobs, and I'm going to give you a little bit more info on the topics that we'll be covering throughout the hour today. Just to go over a couple housekeeping notes. The first thing is that this webinar will be recorded. So if for any reason you want to refer back to the recording once we're all set, we will make that live on our blog, and we'll be sending out a link to everyone in our follow-up email tomorrow. So you'll be able to review the webinar as it goes. So in case anyone has to leave early or your connection gets interrupted, all of those fun things that can happen during the webinar hour, we'll be sure to have this recorded and made available to you tomorrow. Also, there is a handout that you can download which has all of the pertinent information for each one of these companies and the people that we're talking to today. You can download that from your GoToWebinar control panel. If you don't see your control panel, look around your screen for a little orange arrow, and if you click the orange arrow, your control panel should magically appear, and that will give you access to a handout section where you can download the handout from there. And we will also be including a link to download that handout in tomorrow's follow-up webinar as well. So if for some reason you can't download it right now, you can always download it when the email comes to you tomorrow. And then finally, we will be doing about 40 to 45 minutes of presentation today. We'll be hearing from each of these three companies, and then we are going to open it up to audience question and answers. So if you have a question throughout the presentation, please feel free to add it to your questions box on that GoToWebinar control panel, and we'll try to get to as many questions as we can. Just to note that we try to answer the questions that are applicable to the widest number of audience members here. So if you have a very specific question about your particular situation, we probably won't be able to answer that just because we want to make sure that we are sharing information that everybody can benefit from today. That's it for housekeeping. So let's launch into the topics that we're going to be talking about today. We'll be talking about trends in the flexible job market. I'll give you sort of an overview of what's happening so that you have some context to put what you're going to hear from these companies in. And then we'll talk about common industries and jobs for remote and flexible work. And then we'll get right into our company guest panel with our three great companies who are here today. They're going to be talking about why flexible work is important to them and to their companies and what they look for in flexible workers. So if you're interested in applying for jobs with these companies, this is a great opportunity to learn more about each of them. And then I will follow up with some action items and helpful FlexJobs resources that you can all take advantage of after the presentation is over. And like I said, we will open it up to the audience Q&A towards the end of the presentation. In total, this will last about 60 minutes altogether. And like I said, the last 15 or 20 will be question and answer. Our guest panel today, just to give you a preview of who we'll be talking to, is three really great companies. We have from DVMelite, Sally Van Dyke, who is the Team Builder Manager. From PwC, Shannon Lee, who is the Tax, GDM, and National Practice Talent Acquisition Leader. And from Haynes & Company, we have Elizabeth Haynes, who's the founder and president. And as I mentioned, they'll be talking about why flexible work is important to their companies and what they look for in hiring flexible workers. Just a quick overview about FlexJobs in case I know a lot of times when we do these webinars, we have people who are new to FlexJobs, you've never heard of the site or you've only interacted with us a little bit. So just to give you an idea of who is actually hosting this, we were founded in 2007, so next year we're going to be celebrating our 10th anniversary. We list pre-screened telecommuting, flexible schedule, full-time and part-time, and freelance jobs. Basically any sort of job that's outside of a traditional 9-to-5 in-office job. That's the sort of jobs we specialize in. We have over 60 staffers who all work from home, so we practice what we preach. I'm working from home. My dog is asleep next to me right now. And we've helped, actually I should update this, it's almost 2 million job seekers at this point who are searching for flexible jobs. We have a database of over 40,000 researched and vetted companies that's fully available to anyone, whether you're a FlexJobs member or not. You can take advantage of that database. If you go to our website and go to research companies, you'll be able to research all sorts of companies that have offered flexible work. And we are a membership site, which means that to access our full job listings and application information, you should be a member of FlexJobs. We do webinars like this and have a variety of information on our website for free and available to the public. But to access job listings, the full job listings, the contact information for the companies, and a skills test and a variety of other really nice things to have as a job seeker. We are a membership site. And so what I really want to talk about today is just some information on the flexible job market. So first, one of the things we focus on at FlexJobs is the top 100 companies to watch in 2016 for remote jobs. And we look at this every year. We look at the top 100 companies that are hiring for remote jobs in particular, because that is, as everybody that we survey tells us, the most popular type of flexibility is the ability to work from home. And so you can find that list by going to our blog, which the address is there. This is our third annual list, as I said, and it's the companies that listed the most remote job postings in 2015 out of the 40,000 companies in our database. And so remote jobs include things like telecommute, virtual, and work from home. Those are all kind of synonymous with remote job as we describe it. So who's working remotely? The average telecommuter is a 49-year-old college graduate, a man or woman at a company with over 100 employees. And the reason that I like to point this out is because I think there are oftentimes the vision that we see of people who are working from home is the opposite of this. It's not a mid-level career professional at a larger company. Usually maybe we envision students who are recently out of college doing a startup in like their parents' basement or something like that, or just certain types of jobs that can be done from home. But the reality is that it's actually usually mid-level career professionals. It's pretty evenly divided between men and women who are working from home, and they work for companies with more than 100 employees. So I hope that kind of gives everyone hope, or at least kind of, you can picture yourself in the situation working from home if that's the type of flexibility you're looking for, because that is sort of the average person who's working from home. And then as far as telecommuting in the U.S. goes, full-time telecommuters, about 4.7% of all U.S. workers are working from home full-time. Then occasional telecommuting, where you might work from home one day a week or a few days a month, or any sort of not permanent 100% working from home, but occasional working from home, that's 37% of American workers right now are working from home occasionally. The average for that group is 2 days per month. And like I said, we've seen it vary from, a couple days a week to a couple days a month and kind of anything in between. So chances are, a good number of the people on this call, the folks listening in today, you maybe worked from home at least a few days a month. And the really interesting thing is about 50% of people have remote compatible jobs, and that means that they have jobs that can be done at least partially from home. So we see about 37% of people are already working from home occasionally, but up to 50% have jobs that could be done from home occasionally. So there is some room for growth there, and that's what we're hoping to educate you all today, is about those types of remote jobs and all sorts of flexible jobs that you have the opportunity to get. So some trends in flexible work. Where is this job market going? In 2013, there was a survey that found that about 80% of employers plan to increase their flexible workforce, which is great news for anybody who's looking for flexible work. And then in 2014, a survey found that 83% of human resources professionals say remote work, in particular, will increase over the next 5 years. And then by 2020, the prediction is that freelancers will make up more than 40% of all workers. So for anybody who's been interested in kind of breaking out, maybe doing some self-employed work, contract work, those are all different ways to say freelance. There's a lot of terminology here that sort of means the same thing. That looks like it's going to be a good chunk of the workforce by 2020. So let's talk about the top career fields for flexible jobs. Right here I have the top 14 career fields, and the reason that we like to put 14 in here is because we look at this month over month, and we find that these 14 are really the ones that fluctuate in and out of that top 10. So we didn't want to limit it to just the top 10. We wanted to throw in those few extras that really do oftentimes come up in the top 10, so that you can get a sense of the variety of career fields that are hiring for flexible jobs. And these are all types of flexibility. These career fields have the most job opportunities that offer flexibility, whether it's working from home, having a flexible schedule, working part-time, or freelancing. So just to give you a sense of what the variety is out there for career fields that offer flexible jobs, there is quite a wide variety. I will say medical and health continues to be at the top of the list almost always, month over month. But then after that, we do see a lot of fluctuation in terms of which one of these wind up in the top types of career fields. So some interesting information to show you. If you don't see your career field, I wouldn't worry too much about that. We look at over 55 career categories to get this information, so there are lots of flexible jobs in other career fields. So this isn't to limit it to only these 14. It's really just kind of showing you which ones are typically at the top. And then as far as remote work in particular goes, these are the most common telecommuting job titles. So these are the ones where our researchers that are looking at jobs, posting jobs to our site, we have a team of job researchers who look at job listings all the time, and we ask them, what are the job titles that you're seeing over and over for telecommuting jobs or remote jobs? And these are the job titles that they told us they tend to see over and over and over again for jobs that let you work from home. And so again, this kind of just shows you the variety of jobs that can be done at home. We focus on at-home jobs in this data just because so many of the people that we see, so many professionals and job seekers are looking for jobs that let them work from home. So that would be interesting to show you these types of job titles. And again, it's not a definitive list. We post thousands of job listings, and these are just really the ones that we do see on a very regular basis. All right, so now that you have some context as to what's happening in the flexible job market, the general types of career fields and job titles we see hiring, I am happy to be turning it over to our employer guest panel. So as I mentioned before, we have these three fantastic companies who are going to be speaking today, and we're going to go in the order that you see here. So we have DVMelite, and then PwC, and then Haynes and Company. So Sally at DVMelite, thank you so much for being here. Take it away.
Well, thank you so much. I really enjoyed that information. It's always good to see where we are on that. Well, I just wanted to welcome everybody. Thanks for coming in today. And we are DVMelite. We work with medical offices with their business development. We're quite unique that we are 100% remote. We're scattered all over. We don't have a headquarters anywhere. We truly are all remote. So even with that, we are huge on our team culture. So that's why I am not an HR manager. I'm a team builder manager because we are so interested in building our team. So what we are looking for, well, let me tell you a little bit about the company too. It's been around for about 6 years, and we are under that 100 employees, so we're quite unique other than that stat that she shared earlier. But we're growing, and we're growing every day. So we're looking for marketing analysts, coordinators, we're growing our human resources team, so sometimes we look for recruiters, excuse me, developers, because we do work with web design. So we look for a lot of different types of people, and it changes daily because of the needs. We do focus on part-time workers. So we started that at the beginning, thinking that that would be good for us, and then we realized we really enjoyed the type of workforce that was out there that wanted that work-life balance. So we've kept keeping only wanting part-time people because it gives them an opportunity to have that flexibility. We do not tell anybody you have to work like 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Monday through Friday. We ask for from Monday through Friday during business hours, and then they create their own schedule. So this really helps for if you want to run to a PTA meeting or if a kid has a field trip, it really helps with that flexibility, and we're always happy to work around that. So we love the field trips, and we always demand pictures. So we've become a very good, close team, even though we all work remotely. We're very protective of our team because we have such a great culture. We want to make sure everybody is in that team feel. So what we look for are go-getters, people who take initiative, and always, always people who are client-focused. That's our number one priority. And I've personally been with the company for over 3 years, and I can say that it's one of the most fun jobs, or it is the most fun job I've ever had. And I think that's about all I've had. So I will pass it over to Shannon.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sally. This is Bree just popping in between. Thanks for that information, and look forward to lobbing you some questions later when we get to the question and answer session. And up next, we have Shannon from PwC. Shannon, take it away.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. Shannon Lee here from PwC. I have some notes up there about PwC as a firm, our history, and our purpose, which is very near and dear to me. And what I want to spend my time doing today is explaining how flexibility is a way that we embrace our people to do better professionally and personally in their lives. The emphasis on flexibility has been a firm-wide focus for some time. While there's more to do, we've made great strides in finding ways to meet the high expectations of our clients while enabling our people to balance their interests and responsibilities outside of work. So as most people know, our lines of service are focused on assurance, tax, and advisory. We also have a business group that I'm a part of, Internal Firm Services, that our clients are our internal customers. So we've really utilized technology as part of the answer for flexibility. We've invested in tools that help our people to collaborate in real time, hand off across different work zones. We are a global network of firms, and this allows us to contribute to our team whether we're working at home, on the road, or at the client's site. Over time, we have expanded our options for flexibility. I've listed here, like if you're looking at our actual job requisitions, you'll see some listed as seasonal, telecommute, fixed term, and flexible talent network. For some high performers, working only during our peak seasons, the flexibility talent network is a great option for them. And just think about the financial statement filings for public companies as well as private. There's peak periods where we are working substantial hours, but other times of the year, that's where we're able to embrace flexibility for personal interests, and the Flexible Talent Network is a great option for some. We do also recognize that there's a growing independent workforce, so we're looking at options for building relationships with freelance talent. This past month, we have launched the Talent Exchange. It's a first-of-its-kind marketplace that helps us connect top independent talent with exciting opportunities at PwC. And I'm looking forward to answering any questions at the end of the presentation. And I'll turn it back over to you.
All right, thank you very much, Shannon. And last but certainly not least, we have Elizabeth Haynes from Haynes & Company. Elizabeth, thanks for being here.
Happy to be here, and thanks to everyone who is attending, both participants and all of the potential future freelancers for Haynes & Company. So you'll see on your slide just a little bit about us. We are a field-based market research firm. We do work around the world. And we utilize FlexJobs for really everything that we hire for. We're not very large in terms of FTE, but we're very large in terms of freelancers. And the reason that we are so large in terms of freelancers, and that's really where the bulk of our FlexJobs recruiting comes in, is that our job is to go out and measure what we call the last 2 feet. So we are going into retail stores or malls, we're standing outside of them, we might be going into a local municipal office and pulling information from their dusty shelves in order to be able to get what we consider to be rich observational data. And that data is then what we take out, package, analyze, and sell to our clients. So we go the last 2 feet. We don't even go the last 2 miles. We literally look for things that you can see in front of you arm's length away. So we need people who are local. And local means people who are in the market that we need to do the research in. And so that's why we really utilize this huge platform of freelancers. You know, we want people who are engaged, so we want people who can take on as little or as much work as we have available that's a good fit for them. We want them to pick and choose the projects that are best matched, not only to their skills, but to their interests. And we want people who are dependable. We rely on our freelancers. These are long-term freelance opportunities in most cases. Our average tenure with our freelancers is over a year. Again, they're picking and choosing the various projects that they work work on throughout that time. Sometimes they're scaling up and sometimes they're scaling down. But whenever they have taken on a project, we really rely on them to be dependable, to do the work that they say that they're going to do and to get it in on time. So for us, FlexJobs has been a great companion in that search, because what we have found consistently over the years is that the candidates that we bring in from FlexJobs are people who are serious and motivated. They understand the demands of working from home and working on their own time, and we have substantially fewer issues and, frankly, longer tenure with the people that we bring in from FlexJobs. What we look for in terms of people's backgrounds is, we're really looking for people who have some amount of past remote work. They understand what it means to be connected and to be dependable in a remote environment, that people are relying on you even though they can't come grab you out of a cubicle. We need people who have some capability and a proven ability around deadline-driven work. So deadlines matter to us. It's not okay to get your data in on a Monday when it was due on a Sunday, because that impacts our turnaround time to clients. So we need people who take that kind of deadline-driven component of what we do very seriously. And then we want a balance of people who have done solo work, so that they're clear that they are both a player but also a member of a team. They respect the fact that their action is within a larger whole, because again, if they don't respect the fact that they're part of a team, and that team is us and the rest of our people, then we all fail together. We can't go to our clients with our work if we're missing data observations from even one person. So it's really, really important that we find people who have that balance and can respect both parts. For our full-time folks, honestly, what we look for really isn't that different. The only real difference is that we don't need them to be sitting in a particular market, so that local component really goes away. But our full-time employees sit all over the United States. We have folks in Seattle and in Houston, people in New Jersey and in New York City and in Pennsylvania. We've had previous employees who have been in DC and in Maine and in Illinois and North Carolina. So we really believe in working remotely. We really believe in people working from home and having that flexibility. And it extends not just to our freelancers, who we obviously need to be remote because they need to be in the markets that we're collecting data from, but it also is something that we believe in for our full-time folks as well. That's it. I'll hand it back over to Bree.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Elizabeth. I'm glad to hear the FlexJobs partnership works out well for you guys. It's a pleasure with us working for you too. All right, so we've heard from these companies, just kind of the brief overview, and we have lots of good questions coming in. Again, if you do have any questions for Sally at DVMelite, Elizabeth at Haynes & Company, or Shannon at PwC, please feel free to put those in the questions box on your GoToWebinar control panel. I just have a couple quick things to go over in terms of next steps and helpful FlexJobs resources, and then we will get to the question and answer session. All right, so just some action items for job seekers. As you're walking away from today's presentation, I always think it's nice to have a couple things that you have at the top of your mind to actually do, because you're getting a lot of information here, and what can you do to actually act on the information that you're getting. So first thing is research, research, research. I know we're hearing from these three companies, and there's a lot more to learn about each of these companies, even after the question and answer session is over. So definitely do some more research about each of them. And then also, like I said before, go through that top 100 list and research our company database. Basically, open yourself up to the possibilities that are out there in terms of companies hiring for flexible jobs. That will help you learn about the remote and flexible jobs that you might like, and also kind of open you up to some new options. I have a feeling at least some of the folks on the call today will be learning about the different types of opportunities that they haven't heard of before from these companies. And there are a lot of other opportunities out there that you may not have considered before or even heard of. So this researching process will really help to uncover the possibilities that are out there for you. The next thing I would say is to play up your remote and flexible experience. That can be done on your resume, your LinkedIn profile, sort of wherever you are interacting with employers. If there's any chance to put out that you have remote or flexible work experience on there, that's a good thing to do. And then in your current roles, if you are currently working, try to find opportunities to practice that in your current job. So when you are working flexibly, make sure that you are really paying attention to your productivity, to your efficiency, that you're able to work without distraction, that you are communicating really well with your teams and your manager. All of that's going to help you speak well about how you'll be able to do that when you're applying for jobs at these 3 companies or at any company with a flexible job. So that experience, or at least the practice that you might be able to get, those will both be very helpful. And then BOLO, be on the lookout for work from home scams. Now, of course, we have 3 very legitimate, well-respected companies on the call today, but there are unfortunately lots of scam companies out there that are just looking to get at people who are looking for work from home jobs. So if remote work is in particular of interest to you, things you want to do is avoid keywords like work from home and work at home, which have been associated heavily with scams, and the FBI actually designated those as scam phrases to avoid if you're looking for that type of work, and instead to focus on good keywords in your search. So things like remote job, remote work, virtual job, telecommute job, and virtual office. Those are all, and any variation of those. Those are going to get you to the legitimate jobs and away from the scams. So some helpful FlexJobs resources to know about in case you're new to the site, or if you've been using FlexJobs for a while, maybe you haven't heard of these different areas. So the first I will talk about is the FlexJobs blog. It's a free flexible job search advice blog. We have now over 4,000 published articles related to flexible work, job searching, applying to jobs, avoiding job scams. We have recordings of a lot of previous webinars that we've done, so you can check out those. We have information on upcoming webinars, so you can check out that. And also the latest news when it comes to flexible work and jobs and companies hiring, the types of jobs that can be done. It's a really nice resource if you're looking for jobs with flexibility. And then our free company guide, as I mentioned towards the top of the call, if you go to flexjobs.com/company-guide, or just go to flexjobs.com and look for the research companies option at the top, that will get you access to that company guide, which includes over 40,000 screened and vetted companies that have offered flexible jobs in the past and information about those jobs that they've offered. And you can also job search by location. So I know for each of these companies, location may be of importance to the job and may not be. Some of the companies talked about how location is important for certain positions and not as important for other positions. So if you're interested in finding out what is available by location, you can search by location on the site. And you can also search by over 100 career categories and subcategories. So these are the ones that I was talking about before, where we measure which career fields have the most flexible jobs. Well, in total, we have over 100 categories and subcategories that will help you really narrow it down to the types of work that you're interested in doing. So you can check that out as well. And all of those are open to the public. As I said, FlexJobs is a membership site, so the information that only members receive is the specific long job description of each job that we have on the site and how to apply for each of those jobs. And there are a number of different things that we help with, skills tests, resume building, all sorts of different stuff for FlexJobs members. So I'm happy to answer any questions about that as well, but I definitely want to focus mostly on the companies that we have here today. So without further ado, because the companies were able to keep their presentations fairly short today, we actually have a good amount of time for our question and answer session, which is great. The first thing that I want to do is ask a question that we had a couple of different people ask, and that is, are any of the jobs that you have available or the types of jobs that you hire for available for Canadian job seekers, so job seekers who are based in Canada, which we have a few of those on the call today. So let's go down the line and start with Sally at DVMelite. How about Canadian job seekers for any of the jobs that you have?
We have a few. It would be per the job, and it will say that in our job ad if we're looking for only U.S. based, or if it doesn't say only U.S. based, then anyone can apply.
Great. All right, that's easy enough. And then Shannon at PwC, how about you folks?
Thank you. In terms of job requisitions that are open to talent, it's listed out in the job description of if we're able to consider, out of area talent. Specific to Canada, it usually wouldn't be listed by country specific. So just in terms of, if you're authorized to work in the United States is usually the designation that they look for. We do also have a separate website for our Canadian firm, So if you're looking for specific positions in Canada, I would reference their website. The U.S. firm that I work for, we all, since we're a global network of firms, we all have our own individual websites to post career opportunities.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. So they can look for that, the Canadian firm website for PwC opportunities. And then Elizabeth at Haynes & Company, how about you?
So we do have freelance positions that we recruit for in Canada. They're opportunistic in the sense that we do leave our recruiting need available on our website so that we can continue to collect resumes, and then as we have client engagements that come up that cover Canada, we have a pool of people that we can go back to and reach out to. But yeah, we definitely do have openings in Canada that we recruit for.
Great. All right. And Sally, this question came to you when you were doing your presentation, actually. You had mentioned that people need to be available during business hours. Is there a particular time zone that those business hours are in, or is it business hours in their kind of local area, wherever they're working from?
Yeah, great question. That is just your local business hours, because we work with every time zone within North America. So we respect everyone's time zone, and so it is within your own time zone.
Okay, perfect. That helps a lot. And then one question that came up for PwC at Shannon is what is sort of essential for being a flexible worker at PwC? What do you really look for in terms of those skills?
I think it was touched upon by all the panelists today. We've learned that communication and planning is essential. As a business is very demanding. High-performance teams need to be able to talk openly and have a plan that takes into account both client and personal commitments. This helps everyone to do better both personally and professionally. Planning is key. Having the visibility, actually putting it into the plan and making it part of your calendar is critical. So nobody's surprised when business changes, that you can still account for your personal interests outside the office.
All right, great. Thank you very much. And then Elizabeth at Haynes & Company, I know that a lot of the people that you hire are freelancers. Are those full-time hours, part-time hours? Is it up to the person? How does it work in terms of the number of hours that those freelancers might be working?
Sure. So it's definitively not full-time. So we're very, very careful to make sure that we comply with all of the legal regulations throughout the United States around what is a freelancer versus what is an employee. And a big part of that is A, it's never full-time, and B, it is very much project-based. So the way that we work with our freelance researchers is that we come to you with a series of projects. Some of those projects have an ongoing component, an ongoing dimension to them, so that they may be happening every 4 weeks or every week. Within those projects, you select the ones that you are willing to work on, and then you let us know later on if you'd like to add more work. We'll continually come to our platform and offer up new opportunities. And certainly people have raised their hand to say in advance of that occurring that they're very open to new opportunities, additional work. But I would say it really varies in terms of the total number of hours based on how many projects you take on. So we have vendors that only work on a couple of projects, and so it's 1 weekend a month, and it's maybe only 5 to 7 hours over that whole weekend. And then I have other freelancers that work on almost every project that we have available. So they work on almost 40 different projects throughout a 4-week period, and it may be closer to 10 or 15 hours a week for them. So it really just depends, and it's always very much up to the freelancer. We don't require that freelancers take work in order to be considered for future work. Once you're on the platform and succeeding with us, it's really very much driven by what you want to take on and what your availability is.
Okay, great. That's very helpful. And then Sally at DVMelite, this question's for you. The description on your slide says that you are in business development consulting for medical clinics, and a couple people were wondering if having a medical background of some kind can help their application. Is that something that they should mention?
Another great question. What we do for them is more of the business development, so it is not necessary to have a medical background at all. It could be helpful, but we're usually looking for the skills for that job, as in if marketing person, that they have that marketing skill set, or if it's an admin, that they have the admin skill set. So the medical office experience may not be necessary, but it's always helpful to put that down just in case, depending on the job.
Okay, great. I think that'll be helpful for those people to know. And then for Shannon at PwC, we have a question about what is the best way to go about applying for the jobs at PwC? Is it to submit online? Is it to sort of work your network on LinkedIn? Is it a combination of those things? What would you recommend people do if they want to apply?
Very fair question. In terms of getting in front of the right recruiter for an opportunity, applying directly on the PwC website, so pwc.com careers, is the best way to get in front of the recruiter, because we are a national team, and you might have connectivity with recruiters, let's say in your local market, but they might not be working on the position that is located in the market. So that's always the best first step. But I always encourage individuals to network, whether online, socially, getting out to in-person networking events. That's the best way for you to understand more about the firm, about the different opportunities, and also just to have that connectivity. I mean, most people tend to pursue opportunities where they have a personal connection, and networking is definitely a part of it. It's separate than the application process, but it is important in terms of understanding opportunities.
Okay, perfect. I think that makes sense. And then this question is kind of for everybody on the call today. In terms of the application process, can you just talk a little bit, and I'll sort of go through each one of you, but can you talk a little bit about what the application process looks like? So someone submits their application, and then is there an interview process? Is there any testing? What does that process look like to go up to the point of being offered a position or a project or a contract, that sort of thing? Let's see, Elizabeth at Haynes, would you like to go over your process first?
Sure. We have a multi-step process for folks. We have found over the years that the only way to know if you will actually like doing the work that we do is to go through some samples of it. And so the first thing that we ask all of our candidates to do is, one, we put everyone under a non-disclosure agreement because what we do is proprietary, and it starts from the very beginning of the interview process. So that's really the first step, is to get everybody inside the confidentiality circle together. And then once we receive back a candidate's NDA, we then move them through a sample project. And so that project may be looking at an apparel company that we cover. It might be doing a sample set of work around toys or around handbags, just something that is analogous to what we're actually recruiting for at that moment in the market. And that includes doing the upfront training or learning that you need to do in order to be available and ready to go out and collect the data that we gather in the field. And then it's even taking the quiz, because we have everyone take a competency quiz at the end. And what we find is that it is as much about us finding the right fit with a candidate as it is the candidate finding out whether or not they want to do what we do. We have a lot of candidates that get through that part of the process and say, boy, this isn't what I thought it was going to be. And you know what? Thanks so much, but this isn't a great fit for me. And that's okay. Again, we're really looking for people who will stay with us. And so as a result, we want to find the right fit. We're not trying to surprise anybody or give them an unwelcome first visit for their field research. Once people get through that quiz component, then we move into face-to-face interviews using video conferencing platforms. Again, we just want to, we find that that's a great way to test and see how people use potentially unfamiliar technology. And then it's also just an opportunity for us to get to see you and for you to get to see us, that we're all actually real human beings, that while we work remotely, we're not randomly robots. And then at the end of that, we move forward with candidates that seem to be a good fit and have that right level of engagement and interest with a contract, and we put people under contract to us as individual freelance vendors. So that's really our process.
All right, great. I think that gives a nice overview. Thank you. And then Sally at DVMelite, how about you? What does your application process look like?
Okay, we're also quite unique in how we hire too. I think it is when you're remote, you have to take extra steps than a normal face-to-face interview. We start with a couple different scenarios, and they could be scenarios theory that you could run into while you're working for us. We understand that you would know exactly what our procedures would be, but it's just to get a feel of how you would, what your gut would say you would do for this. And then from there we go to a short screening interview on the phone. And then from there we could have a personality assessment. And then from there there's a longer call for an interview. For some positions it could be up to 2 hours for that call. Not usually, but it could be up to 2 hours. And then we have a different kind of check that we do for references. And then we have 2 other interviews. So we have quite a few different steps involved, but because of that, I think we've figured out we hire less than 1% of the applicants that apply, but once they are in, they're in for good. So we have a very low turnover, so that was very helpful.
All right, great. Thank you, Sally. And then Shannon at PwC, same question for you. What's the application process like?
Well, how the application process can start one of 2 ways. Either you formally express interest and you submit an application either through FlexJobs or on PwC.com, you complete the application. Or if maybe you've been in contact with us in the past and you're already in our network and we're already reaching out to you, you might receive an invitation to apply based on previous conversations you've had with PwC to formally express interest and apply to the position. From there, for every job requisition, all the applicants are reviewed by recruiters. And after that review process, a selection is made to move forward candidates to the next phase of an initial conversation with a recruiter. So those conversations are scheduled. They can occur either over the phone or in person. We also do virtual interviews as well, whether it's Google Hangouts. Some of the conversations could happen through WebEx, but Google Hangouts is typically the virtual interview option. From there, all the candidates that went through the initial screen process are presented to the hiring manager for consideration. Then from there, an selection is made to move forward to in-person or virtual interviews. So all throughout the process, you will be communicated of your status. In terms of the timing, it ultimately depends on the business need, how quickly or how the process might be drawn out over time. Of course, availability for the candidate as well as the interviewers as well. Sometimes it's dependent on the level of position, the number of people that need to be involved in the interview process. You could have as many as 3 to 5 interviewers, depending on the level of the position. If you're going to be responsible for people, we want to make sure that you have the opportunity to meet with the team that you're going to be working with, and also be clear on what the expectations are for the position. And then, of course, from there, a selection is made after the interview process has been completed.
All right, fantastic. Thank you all very much. I think that gives everybody a much clearer overview of what they would be going through if they were to apply to these different jobs and opportunities. So thank you. We did have a number of people ask about the FlexJobs membership and how much that costs, so I'm happy to field that one, of course. So we have 3 levels of membership. We have a 1-month membership for $14.95, a 3-month membership for $29.95, or a 1-year membership for $49.95. And those all come with a 100% satisfaction guarantee. So if for any reason you're using FlexJobs and you decide the membership just isn't worth it, we don't ask questions. All you have to do is request a refund, and we grant it, no questions asked, and very quickly. We just want everyone to be happy and feel that FlexJobs was a useful part of your job search. So, so that's the answer to that one. Again, that's $14.95 for 1 month, $29.95 for 3 months, or $49.95 for 1 year. with that 100% satisfaction guarantee. So that's that information. This next question is for Elizabeth at Haynes & Company. This is a specific question for the employee roles that you have. Do you look for a minimum degree level? Do most of your positions require at least a bachelor's degree? This is one person who'd like to know that.
Yeah, honestly, there's very little that we do that we don't look for people who have a bachelor's degree at a minimum. And frankly, where we can seek out people who have some amount of graduate work, we do. And it varies depending on the market, especially for our freelancers. But for full-time employees, we are absolutely looking for people who at a bare minimum have graduated from college. And if you are a recent graduate from college, we will actually even ask you for an unofficial transcript, just because we have found over the years that it's really important for us to verify that information. So obviously, as people are longer in their careers and have more work experience and expertise, that becomes something that becomes less important, although we do always go back to the school and verify that the person has actually graduated. But it's not something that we spend as much time focused on, but we do certainly for people who are looking for remote and flexible work, but also are recent college grads.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. And this question is for all three ladies on the panel today. As far as compensation goes, is your compensation comparable for your remote and flexible jobs as it would be for a non-flexible job, so to speak? So is there any difference in terms of pay, compensation, benefits for the jobs that you offer that are flexible and remote versus those that are inflexible and kind of just the standard in-office jobs? Shannon at PwC, do you want to field that one first?
Sure. There's absolutely no difference whether you're in the office or remote. Compensation and total compensation is based on the position as well as performance.
All right, great. Easy answer there. And then Elizabeth at Haynes, how about you guys?
So we don't have any in-office jobs, so I don't really have anything to compare it to. I think what we really focus on is comparing what we provide in terms of salary and benefits to quote-unquote in-office jobs in the market. So for instance,
sure, yeah.
If you were to ask me, do we pay the same amount of money for a role for someone who is working from home in New York as we do for someone who's working from home in Oklahoma City, the answer is going to be no, because very candidly, I have different wage rates that I have to pay by market. Now, one of the reasons that we really prefer being virtual and flexible is that not only do we get access to all of the best candidates, no matter where they sit, but it does frankly allow us to be more cost competitive because we can balance having people in very expensive metro areas with having people who frankly prefer to live not in some of those metro areas. And we can be we can be at the top end of the range in one market, but only be at the middle of the range in others. So that's really how we think about it, is we're looking to provide the best possible overall compensation package, and we absolutely consider the fact that we work from home and have that flexibility as part of our compensation package. But ultimately, what we're competing with are both people who work from home and people who don't in a given geographical area.
Okay, I think that makes perfect sense, and I think that is pretty common for companies that are sort of fully remote to look at paying compensation that way. And then Sally at DVMelite, how about you all?
Okay, well, we are, again, just like Kurt, we are 100% remote. We do pay just one, the position will pay one amount no matter where you live. Because of that, as you said, New York versus Oklahoma City would be two totally different things. We tend to have people who are outside of main cities because of the pay. We do pay well, and then we do have bonuses that go along with that can help people increase their pay range. But we do have one certain pay range for everybody.
Okay, great. So everybody's getting the full spectrum of the way compensation and benefits works at remote and flexible companies. Very cool. And then a question actually on the benefits side of that, what sorts of benefits do each of your companies offer for the different types of roles that you have? And these can be sort of traditional benefits, but also any other sorts of, interesting benefits that you might like to toss out there. Basically, what are some of these things that people could expect if they were to work for each of your companies. Shannon, how about you at PwC?
In terms of our benefits package, we do have some of them posted on our website. Some of the ones that I like, obviously, is paid time off, comprehensive medical, dental, vision, 401k, as well as employer match for 401k, as well as our Wealth Builder program. Depending on your level and role at the firm, there are some additional features to the benefits. We also have like an employee perks program where we get discounts from vendors, whether it's travel or like renting a car. Like if you needed, you know, go shopping for back to school, there's like different incentives that we have throughout the year, which is nice. We also have a program where we incentivize our staff to be community stewards. So you can get gift cards for logging how you might recycle or exercise. You know, it's just little perks, but and we have some other benefit programs as well. Those are probably the key highlights.
All right, great, thank you. And Sally at DVMelite, how about the types of benefits that your company offers?
Sure. Well, we don't have any traditional benefits per se, unfortunately, but we are looking to grow and build that into our company later on, so in the future. However, we do have, as I was saying, we have bonuses every quarter, and then we also have team bonuses where we call it shared experience. So if we reach a company goal, we all are able to take part in a shared experience, go in and do it wherever we are, and then we share about it in our team meetings. And some of those were maybe rock climbing, indoor skydiving, manicures, pedicures, hot stone massage. So those are some of the little perks that we have here. And again, like I said, we also have possibilities of quarterly bonuses. All right, back to you.
All right, great. Yeah, that's exactly a perfect idea of sort of those interesting, non-traditional, but still very awesome benefits to have. I like that idea of a shared experience. Very cool. And then Elizabeth at Haynes & Company, how about for the types of roles that you're offering?
So obviously for our freelance vendors, there are no benefits in play because they're each their own tiny small business. But for our full-time employees, we do offer paid time off and holidays. We offer a healthcare premium reimbursement plan. One of the difficulties with being fully virtual is that you may have people all over the country, and unless you're PwC size, you don't necessarily have enough people in any given market to create a group-based insurance plan. So we take advantage of the fact that we can actually offer people the opportunity to get their own health care that they prefer off of the exchanges, and then we provide an expense reimbursement for that under the guidelines. So that gives people both flexibility on what plan they prefer and also the ability to cover a good portion of the costs of that in most cases. We offer a 401k plan with an automatic employer match that's fully vested for our employees after 90 days of service. That also has the ability to take loans out against it, and then we do offer short-term and long-term disability as well as vacation days. So, we try to provide a competitive, competitive benefits plan. But at the end of the day, if you're a great fit for us, the number one benefit that we offer is that you work from home, because that's really for most of the folks that join us. That is for them the core benefit that they're looking to check the box on, and a lot of the others are outside of the healthcare component are often nice to haves as opposed to absolute must-haves.
Yep, absolutely. I can definitely put myself in that category probably as well. Great. Well, thank you all for going over that information. And then it looks like we have time for probably one more question. And so this is something that I had talked about a little bit earlier in the presentation, that it's always good to either to showcase any remote or flexible work experience that you have as a job seeker, because a lot of the skills and attributes that you're all looking for in somebody who's working from home and working flexibly, those are good skills to showcase. Is it absolutely necessary for people applying to your roles that they have some specific type of remote work experience or flexible work experience, or do you just like to see them demonstrate those types of skills and attributes that would make them successful, even if they haven't actually worked from home in that capacity before? So let's go around the group here and see what everybody has to say. Sally at DVMelite, how about you as far as job seekers showcasing their remote work experience? Is that required? Is it just nice to have? What are your thoughts on that?
It's nice to have. I say the vast majority of ours do not have it, but they were able to show how they can work independently. They were able to show how responsible they are, how they take initiative, how disciplined they are to work from home. So those are the things we're looking for more than just the experience of working from home.
All right, great. I think you probably had a couple sighs of release going around our audience today, so thank you for that. And then Elizabeth at Haynes & Company, how about you all looking for that specific remote work experience, or how does that work?
It's not a requirement, but it certainly is helpful. We do not bring anyone on as an employee until actually doing a 14-day trial with them, and part of that is because we typically know very early in people's time with us if they're going to be able to work from home and manage that, or if they're not. And it's okay if you can't, but for a lot of our folks, we see it as a benefit, and it needs to be something that's actually a positive of the job. And so if it's not going to be a good fit, it's very readily apparent very quickly. It's sometimes hard to get people who have never done it before up the hill on what it really means. And so that can be, the only reason that we look favorably on it when people have it in their background is because it means that they are experienced with what the demands are of working from your home, as opposed to having a separate space that you go to work. And frankly, that that it's actually a good fit for you. So while it's not a requirement, we certainly love to see it.
All right, great. I think that makes perfect sense. And then Shannon at PwC, how do you view that previous remote work experience, whether people have it or don't have it? What do you like to see?
Well, it's not a part of the requirement, but what I would challenge anyone that is pursuing a flexible work environment is being prepared to answer questions around it. Do you have a dedicated space where you plan to work remotely? Examples of how you've done it in the past, or if you haven't, how you plan to do so in the future, like whether it's network connectivity, handling unusual hour work situations where you might have to have accessibility to your assets to handle business demands. So just, being aware of it and being able to answer those questions, I think, are more important than actually having the previous experience.
All right, great. Well, I think that makes perfect sense for everybody on the call today. And I will say that if you are a job seeker and you're looking to either display previous remote work or flexible work experience on your resume, on your LinkedIn profile, or just display those types of skills and the fact that you are able to do that sort of work even if you haven't actually done it in the past, we have a lot of articles on that on the FlexJobs blog. So please feel free to search around for those on the FlexJobs blog. And we do have some specific examples to kind of show you what it looks like to put that sort of information on your resumes and your cover letters, that sort of stuff. And again, that's for folks who both have the experience and those who don't, but who feel like they would be a really good fit for it because of their skills, their work ethic, their home office, that sort of stuff. Well, thank you all so much. I want to give thanks to, now I'm going to start stumbling here, Sally Van Dyke at DVMelite, Elizabeth Haynes at Haynes & Company, and Shannon Lee at PwC. Thank you all so much for really good information today, talking to our job seekers, answering a lot of questions. I know it was very helpful. We're already getting some thanks coming in on the questions area, so you're welcome to everyone out there who had a good time today. Again, this is recorded, and we will be sending out an email tomorrow with the link to the recording so that everyone can review it if they need to. And also the handout that we've made available, we'll include that in the email tomorrow. And in the email, there is a very quick survey. I think it's like a 5-second survey or thereabouts. So please fill out the survey when you get our email follow-up tomorrow. That really helps us make these webinars better and better as we do them. And it's very helpful. So thank you all very much for being here. Thanks again to all the presenters today. And have a great day, everyone. Thanks a lot.